What's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to episode 358 of MCRAE Live. The date today is Thursday, September the 11th, 2025, 7:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave MCRAE, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. The Horror Mount Rushmore of characters. Who are they? How do we figure it out? Do it again! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 358 of MCRAE Live. And I hope you are all doing well. Hope your Thursday is going well. And so I wanted to jump on and now we've sort of talked about this before. I've made social media posts about this in the past, but I wanted to jump on and talk about the Horror Mount Rushmore. I mean, this is. Everybody's got a different answer. Everybody's got a different order. Everybody's got different people they put up there. Now, of course, I'm talking about characters, not movies, but characters, and more specifically, more of the modern era of characters. See, this is what I mean, right? And this is, if you follow me for any length of time, I'm somebody that is, I'm very nuanced, and it's because I tend to try and choose my words carefully because words mean something. I choose my words carefully when I'm on here live, especially because obviously I can't edit in real time. I mean, I can always go back and take something out, but in terms of editing on the fly, I can't do that, right? And so I'm always careful with how I choose my words and things like that because I want to be precise as I can. And look, I mean, it's all in good fun anyway, and there's no right or wrong answer really. But I like to, instead of just kind of doing the same thing over again, and you kind of just talk about what you love and all that kind of stuff. I like to really kind of figure out if there is a way we could measure this and why, to give it some kind of some objectivity in what is primarily a subjective category and subjective topic and subjective, art is generally speaking subjective, right? I say generally speaking because obviously when we get, when we get into the mechanics of, storytelling and movie making and technology and all that kind of stuff, that's not subjective, that's objective. But in terms of what you like or what you don't like, that's purely subjective. I can't tell you what you like and force you to like something you don't like or force you to not like something you do. And so, so I always kind of tackle these subjects trying to come at it with a bit of objectivity. And whenever I do, I can't help but feel that maybe some people think I'm taking the fun out of it. Like, oh, Dave, you're so serious. You're doing that. You're so serious. And it's like, but otherwise we're just kind of saying what we like. And it just doesn't really, Anyway, having that as my pre-ramble, I wanted to take sort of the modern horror characters, and they're not even really that modern anymore, right? They Freddy, Jason, Michael, Chucky, Leatherface, Pinhead, they're not even, they're like, Michael is nearly 50, Freddy's 41, Jason's 45, right? They're not even really, these characters are kind of, not that modern anymore, right? But nonetheless, for the sake of just kind of differentiating them between Dracula, the Wolfman, the universal monsters like the OGs of the 30s and the 40s, we're going to go to the late 70s or, 80s. I guess that's modern. But just for the sake of argument for today's exercise, that's what we'll say the modern era, which I guess would include anything from, the mid 70s up until now. Nonetheless, so the question is always posed, who is your Mount Rushmore of horror characters? And generally when people say that, they're usually talking about the modern era, right? I've yet to run into anybody that really, when they say that, they mean, no, I'm talking about Dracula and Wolfman, or they're including everything, right? Sometimes I guess that's the case. But usually in my experience, it's more of just kind of like, what we know in terms of our pop culture, what we grew up with. And usually, like the question, what is the most, iconic house in the history of horror, right? I did a video on that a number of years ago. Usually people just choose their favorites. They don't really think, could we actually measure this? Like, is there a way to figure out what would be the most iconic? Well, we have to determine what do we mean by iconic, right? Because usually, because of the era we live in, people toss that word around like it's nobody's business. It doesn't really have a meaning anymore, right? Everything's iconic. Everything's the GOAT. Everything's legendary when people aren't really that status, those words are usually tossed around when something is just uber popular. Well, you can be uber popular. It doesn't mean you're legendary. It doesn't mean you're iconic, right? It doesn't mean you're the greatest of all time. And so I have found that usually when we're getting into these types of discussions, people shoot from the hip and they just talk about their favorites, right? Like when I say to you, what is the most iconic house in the history of horror? There's some of you that would probably say the Myers house. And I think you're out to lunch. Halloween's my favorite horror movie of all time. I love the Myers house, but I don't think it's the most iconic house in the history of horror. I just don't think that is. And so when I did that video back 4 or 5 years ago, I said to myself, I need to come up with a set of rules, like a certain criteria to be able to measure this. And there's many ways you can do it. Like this isn't a one size fits all, but I needed to be decisive and come up with a measuring stick so we can actually have some sort of objectivity. Otherwise, we are just picking our favorites, which isn't really what the question is about. I'm not asking what your favorite is. That's a different thing. And so what I determined was, okay, well, how are we going to figure out what the most iconic house in the history of horror is? And this isn't scientific, but I thought, okay, well, you got the Myers house, you got the Elm Street house, you got the Psycho house, you got the Amityville Horror house, you got so many, And I thought, well, what would be the one house that would be instantly recognizable to the average person on the street, right? And this isn't scientific, but I thought, well, that's one way of measuring it, right? And when I did my list, I felt that the most recognizable house to most average, and now again, it depends on the age we're talking about here too, right? I mean, that is something you have to take into consideration. But I think the most iconic house that would be instantly recognizable to most average moviegoers on the street would be the Psycho house. I think the Psycho house the Myers house would be on the bottom of the list. Now again, average person on the street, not horror fans, average person on the street. Because for something to be truly iconic, like legendary iconic status, in my opinion, it has to pass the threshold of its own genre. You can be iconic within your niche in your space of the world, but to truly be superstar, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, you have to cross the threshold of your own, your own category of where you are. And I don't think the Myers house does. I think the Psycho house does. I don't think the Elm Street house does. The Amityville Horror house, maybe because of those windows, perhaps. But the Psycho house is so iconic. It's so iconic. Anyways. So that was sort of like the litmus test that I was trying to kind of, like what would be the most, recognizable, right? And so I wanted to kind of apply the same sort of metric, like the same sort of idea here to this question. Who are the most iconic horror villains? And when we say that, like of the modern era, right? Well, look, there's no doubt that I think it is sort of a no-brainer. And most people would agree with me. This is really, most people, the debate doesn't lie within the first three that you choose. Maybe you debate over the order for which they go on, but I've never seen. Now, listen, I'm Canadian, so I do know that George Washington is the first president on the mountain. Is it in order of when they were president? Is that, like, it's not an order of who they thought was the best president, is it? I don't think so. I mean, forgive me, I'm Canadian, but I think it's the order for which they were president, right? I think. My American friends can let me know. So you can debate which order, but I've never really cared which order the characters go on. Like, it doesn't really, like, I'm not, well, you know, the most popular is going to be first, the second popular is going to be second. No, it's just, they're just up there. Like, if you're up on the mountain, that's pretty darn special in and of itself. So, let me see here. I do know that George Washington was your first president. I know that. And so chat room's looking it up right now. Hey, Grok. Anyway, okay, so I was thinking to myself, like, what's the best way to measure this? And we can all agree that, I don't know, Josh, really? You think Stu's house from Scream is instantly recognizable to the average person on the street? Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, Brandon says, no, the order on the mountain is Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. Okay. So it's just, yeah. Washington, I know, is your first, and I just thought maybe it was an order of when they were president. Anyway, nonetheless, it doesn't matter. So the point I'm making is that I needed to figure out who's the fourth person, because we all agree, right? Most horror fans agree Michael Myers belongs on the mountain. Okay. And there's reasons for that. We're going to talk about it. Most people agree that Jason Voorhees belongs on the mountain. Most people agree that Freddy Krueger belongs on the mountain. Now, if we're talking about your favorites, right, we're coming from more of an emotional place, like, I don't like Freddy Krueger. I think he's bullshit. He's fucking shit. He's not going to be on my Mount Rushmore. That's fine, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about favorites, okay? We're going to talk about that in a second. We're talking about, like, when I think of Mount Rushmore, I think who my favorite is really kind of irrelevant, right? Like, who my favorite hockey player is, who my favorite baseball player is, who my favorite basketball player is, or who my favorite actor is irrelevant to whether or not they are objectively based on awards or movies or points or, you know, whatever it is truly the best, right? My favorite actor is Harrison Ford. He would never be considered the greatest actor of all time, right? And so does Harrison Ford belong in the Mount Rushmore of the greatest actors of all time? Well, the answer is probably no, right? And so that's what I mean by, when I think of Mount Rushmore, I think of truly the best. And there has to be a measuring stick for which we determine that. And there's many ways you can do that. And so we're going to talk about it. So I believe the fourth character that belongs on that mountain is not Leatherface, is not Chucky, is not Pinhead, is not Pumpkinhead, is not Leprechaun, is nowhere near Art the Clown. It's Ghostface. But Dave, Ghostface isn't a character. He's 543 people. No, just hang on. I've written all my thoughts down. I'm going to read them to you of why I believe Ghostface belongs on that mountain. Now remember, we're not talking about our favorites. I mean, Scream is definitely not my favorite. We're not talking about favorites. We're trying to figure out who truly belongs on there. And when we're talking about the best of the best, I look at it from, okay, who are the characters that had a gigantic pop cultural zeitgeist impact? A truly crossing the threshold of their own movie, of their own genre, into the larger popular culture where they are instantly recognizable to almost everyone. Whether you like them or not, whether you like Elvis Presley or not, is irrelevant. He was one of the greatest, most iconic, legendary performers in the history of this world. whether you liked him or not. Your love or hate for him is irrelevant. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest, whether you liked him or not. Wayne Gretzky, whether you liked him or not. It's irrelevant. And although that's harder to do with art, not Art the Clown, I mean art in terms of, the entertainment industry and movies and things like that, that's harder to do because a lot of it is so subjective. If we can remove our love of something out of it and kind of look at it, who are the characters? Now, the argument comes down to, yeah, but Dave, Leatherface is, he's one of the OGs. He's iconic. He is. But he never crossed the threshold into the larger pop culture zeitgeist, nowhere near the level that Ghostface and Scream did. And that's not Leatherface's fault. But you had the 1974 film. You didn't have another one till, 86, 85? 10 years later, and it was completely different in tone and style. It was like a comedy. And there's never really been another really great, other than the remake in 2004. He hasn't had a clear path to victory, we'll say. So let me read what I had written down here. My thoughts. See if you agree, if you don't agree. Why Ghostface belongs on the Mount Rushmore of horror. When we talk about a Mount Rushmore of horror icons, remember, we're talking about sort of, the modern era. We're not just talking about who our favorites are. Favorites are subjective, and they can be fun. I might love Pinhead more than Jason, which I don't, by the way. But somebody out there does. Or Chucky more than Freddy. I don't, but somebody out there does. But Mount Rushmore is not about personal preference. At least it shouldn't be, right? It's about who shaped the cultural landscape in a way that transcends the movies themselves. It's about who seeped into the bloodstream of pop culture to the point where even people who don't watch horror movies know their face, their voice, and their image. It's like Darth Vader. You may have never seen a Star Wars movie in your life, but you know exactly who Darth Vader is and what he sounds like. And this is where Ghostface belongs, and where Leatherface, Chucky, Pinhead, or any number of others fall short. Leatherface, for example, is massively influential. Massively influential. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is considered one of the greatest, scariest horror movies of all time. I'm not denying that. But Leatherface himself never truly escaped that bubble, the horror bubble. He's iconic within horror. But he never reached that Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson level. He didn't cross over into the wider cultural zeitgeist in the same ways that Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, or Ghostface did. Leatherface is an important character in film history. There is no denying that. But he's not he himself is not a pop cultural phenomenon on the same level. Ghostface, on the other hand, is everywhere. You don't have to explain him to anybody. You don't have to explain the voice or the mask or, do you like scary movies? Instantly iconic, instantaneously you know who we're talking about. The second you see that white elongated ghost mask, you know exactly what you're looking at. It's a piece of Halloween costume history. Meme culture, parody, late night comedy sketches, scary movie, hip-hop videos. Ghostface isn't just a character in a movie. He's an archetype of modern horror. Let me say that again. He isn't just a character in a movie. He's an archetype of modern horror. And here's the kicker. Ghostface is unique on the Mount Rushmore. Remember, I was going to talk about this because he's not one person. He's an idea, a symbol, a mantle that multiple killers have worn. That gives him longevity and adaptability. That's actually strengthened the franchise. For better or worse. We'll see what happens with Scream 7. So much so to the point where there hasn't been now again, you might like some Scream movies, better than others. But I think we can all agree there has yet to be a Halloween Resurrection for Scream, a Freddy's Dead for Scream, a Jason Goes to Hell for Scream. They've yet to have a catastrophic failure. Maybe it's partly because he is a different character. We'll find out with Scream 7 how that one goes around. Scream is self-referential, meta, and constantly reinventing itself. But the iconography of Ghostface, the character, the symbol, never loses its power. Never loses its power. Look at it this way. So when people say Leatherface should be there instead, I get it. I totally understand. Totally understand. It's not that there isn't an argument to be made for Leatherface. There is one. I just think the evidence and the argument for Ghostface on the Mount Rushmore is so substantially greater when we think about what does a Mount Rushmore mean? What is the purpose? It's not our favorites. It's the greatest. And how do we measure that in an industry that is largely subjective? Well, that's really hard, right? There is no one way to do it. I just try to figure out ways. What are some ways we could, and this isn't the only way you could measure it. You could do it from a different perspective, and maybe Ghostface doesn't wind up on there. But when I think of the greatest, I think, well, when we think about how can we measure that in terms of art, music, movies? You could do it with box office, but that doesn't mean the movie's really good. That just means that the movie was popular and a lot of people went to see it. But the real question is not how many people went to see it. The question is how many of those people that went to see it liked it, and then that's a whole other thing. It's a whole thing, right? It's very difficult to measure objectivity in art and movies. But when I think of Mount Rushmore, I think greatest. And when we think of characters, well, how do we measure that? Okay, well, what is their impact? What's their pop culture zeitgeist impact? And Leatherface never really crossed the threshold of his own genre. He's iconic. He's legendary. Of course he is. But he's not Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson legendary. Do you know what I mean? He's like punk rock, badass, really well-known legendary. He hasn't quite hit, and there's reasons for that. It's not his fault. He's iconic, but not like Ghostface is in terms of the larger popular zeitgeist. Like, oh my God, I mean, there's still little kids today dressing up as Ghostface. Today. So when people say that Leatherface should be there instead, I get it. They're thinking historically. And there's an argument to be made there. But for me, this isn't about who was first. This is about who defined and dominated culture. And Ghostface has done that in a way that Leatherface, unfortunately, never has. Chucky, iconic, but not universal. Pinhead, cult niche, classic. But Ghostface is everywhere all the time and instantly recognizable to people who have never seen Scream. That, for me, is Mount Rushmore criteria. That's why Ghostface belongs alongside Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers. Ghostface is not just another mask in the crowd, ladies and gentlemen. He's the one who revived the slasher genre in the late 90s, bridged generations, and became as much a part of Halloween pop culture as pumpkins and skeletons. Think about that. That's not just influence, that's immortality. Ladies and germs, immortality. And that's why his face belongs carved in stone beside the others. So, that is for me why Ghostface belongs. Because the others, although iconic, people love Chucky. I put Chucky up there. But I don't think he's... Now, Chucky is more instantly recognizable than Leatherface, I believe, yes. But I still think Ghostface has an edge over Chucky in terms of reach, in terms of just the impact and the influence on the Halloween season itself, and just popular culture. I think Ghostface is ahead. But I think Chucky would be ahead of Leatherface, for sure. So for me... that would be my Mount Rushmore of horror characters. And those would be the reasons why. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on whether you agree with me. Maybe you don't agree with me. Maybe you say, Dave, no way, man. But if you don't agree with me, then you have to argue why my logic isn't, you know what I mean? Because I think it's pretty sound. I'm just saying. Look, there's many ways to look at this, but that is how I always like to look at it. When somebody says to me, what do you think is the best or who belongs as in this list? I always go, okay, well, my favorite person might be very different than actually who belongs there, right? And it's like how I always look, you guys know, Michael Myers is my favorite horror character of all time. Halloween, the original, is my favorite horror movie of all time. If you follow me since the beginning, you know. I mean, you know this. I mean, I'm one of the Halloween guys, I love Halloween, everything about Halloween. But just because I have an emotional attachment to Michael Myers and Halloween and the lore and the history, and I love that movie, and I'm Halloween crazy. I mean, look at the hat I'm wearing today. That doesn't mean that I would be so, I'm smart enough to know that Michael Myers was non-existent in the 80s. He was around in 81 with Halloween 2, and we didn't see him again till 80. I mean, I lived through the 80s as a little kid. Freddy and Jason ruled the 80s. I mean, Michael Myers may be the king of the mountain now, but there's reasons for that. In the 80s? I'm sorry, Michael who? There's a reason why Jamie Lee Curtis, during that press junket interview, was asked, so, do you still get kids coming to your door trying to scare you in a hockey mask or whatever he said? There's a reason why he said hockey mask. He meant Michael Myers, right? But Jason and Freddy, if you weren't around, kids, I'm telling you, Michael was like, who? Because at that time, there were only 2 Halloween movies. And Freddy and Jason ruled the decade. They tore it up. Because I love Michael, I'm just going to turn my head and go, no, Michael was so popular in the 80s. He was amazing. He was everywhere. No, he wasn't. Nobody cared. You know how many times I tried to dress up as Michael and people were like, oh, you're Jason. It happened all the time. If you're old enough like me, you know. It still happens today. Maybe it's changing a little bit now, but but Freddy and Jason ruled it, man. And so that's what I mean. I always try to kind of go, okay, well, if we're talking about truly who ruled the 80s, who were the true 80s horror icons? It's not Michael Myers. He's not even he's what? Michael who? Freddy and Jason. Jason and Freddy. 100%. And it ain't even close. It ain't even close. I mean, if this was a sports game, it'd be like, in football, it'd be like 60-0. In hockey, it'd be like 8-1. In baseball, maybe 10-0. In basketball, I don't know, 112-46. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get all the sports in there. I mean, it'd be crazy. So I think it's fun to do because maybe that does take some of the fun out of it. I don't know. But hopefully it's kind of fun to challenge ourselves to try and figure out, like how do we look at this, right? How do we look at this and figure it out and try to be as objective as possible? And one way to do that is looking at, well, we know the cultural impact of Freddy and Jason. I mean, it's all there. We know the cultural impact of Michael Myers, certainly now. And to be honest with you, I mean, if it wasn't for, I'm going to be honest, if it wasn't for Halloween H2O, and I'm not a fan of Halloween H2O. I don't hate it or anything. I'm just not a huge fan of it. But if it wasn't for Halloween H2O and that late 90s boom, and then, of course, Rob Zombie's films, the David Gordon Green trilogy, there's an argument to be made. If all there were like just Halloween 1 and 2 and maybe 4 and 5 or something, there's an argument to be made that he might still be on there, but he might be more, we might be trying to make an argument for him rather than just kind of a shoe-in, right? But Freddy and Jason's pop culture influence in the 80s was insane. It was absolutely unequivocally insane. And of course it was a different era, a different decade, much, much different. But it was just, nobody'd seen anything like it. I mean, like now, of course, this kind of thing's not a big deal because of the internet and social media. But back then, like you have to look at it through the lens of that decade, of that era. And being able to pick up a phone and call 1-800-445 Freddy and talk to Freddy was just insane. And Nintendo games and cereals and lunchboxes and their own cartoon or their own, TV shows and MTV and Saturday Night Live. And like now it's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It happens all the time. Yeah, it happens all the time now. But back in the 80s, it was like they were phenoms. They were rock stars. They were literally rock stars of horror. And so, and Ghostface, although that happened in the late 90s, so about 10 years later, Ghostface has reached that rock star status, right? He's reached that rock star status. Leatherface hasn't. He's really popular and he's very important and he's legendary and important, and the film, and I could not agree more. But in terms of like, when we're talking about Mount Rushmore, but it depends what we're measuring. Well, let's now measure historical. Okay, well, that's a bit different then. Then that might change up things quite a bit. Michael Myers would probably still be on there. You'd probably put Norman Bates on there, right? And then maybe Leatherface on there. And Jesus Christ, maybe even Billy from Black Christmas. That sounds crazy, right? But it was the first of its kind. It influenced Halloween. It was released on the same day as Texas Chainsaw. You can start kind of, well, that's interesting. Now, how are we going to look at it like historically, right? Or maybe you do throw like a Universal monster movie in there or something. So it all depends on what we're measuring. But if we're talking about the greatest of all time, of the modern era, then I think those four, Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Ghostface, measured from the perspective of their influence on the pop culture, their influence on their own genre, but how they were able to surpass the threshold of their own genre and become not just horror icons, but pop culture icons. Like literally Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, the Pope. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean like legendary, and that's very difficult to do. And 9 times out of 10, you're not even in control of whether that happens or not, because it's not like they all had great movies. Sometimes in a lot of cases, it's being in the right place at the right time, at the right moment in culture, in pop culture, at the right era, the right decade, the right sort of, influence on a generation and teenagers and where horror is at that time. And because now slasher movies are not really the big thing. I mean, they're still making them. I'm not saying they're not. But back in the 80s, I mean, they were so profitable until they weren't. But they were so profitable. They were the big thing. Teenagers were running to see. It was the first time we had seen anything like this. And now, you know, that novelty's worn off and horror is cyclical. It comes around, but it's always kind of, you know. But yeah, so I just look at it from the perspective of, you know, I love Leatherface. I love Chucky, you know, like all these characters. But when we're talking about I mean, just impact in terms of and longevity and still just as iconic and popular today, it's Ghostface. Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's a no-brainer. But anyways, folks, my name's Dave McCrae. Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. What do you think about that, the Mount Rushmore of horror characters? I would really like to know. Let me jump over to the chat room now and see what all you are saying. We have a super chat. Was that the only one? No, hang on. There was another one that came in here. Super chat from Adam Allen. Hello, Adam. He says, hi, Dave. Hope you were well, my friend. Well, thank you very much, Alan. I am. I hope you were well as well. Let me see here. The other super chat came in from, and Adam Allen became a member of level number 1. Thank you, Alan. Welcome to the McCrazies. I really appreciate that. And then Josh Stevens sends in a super chat. Thank you, Josh. And says, hot take. Freddy is probably the least likely contender. Ask many Gen Zers and they can't tell you the main plot of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Plus, Chucky has had a recent TV show that was favorably reviewed. Yeah, I think listen, you may be right when we're talking about Gen Zers, sure. But when we talk about, I think Gen Zers would still instantly know who the character was. And, perhaps not if they're 10 years old. But generally speaking, I think Freddy is usually the least liked anyway. I mean, let's be honest. Usually, Michael Myers and Jason are liked a hell of a lot more and are way more popular than Freddy. But that doesn't take away from the cultural impact that Robert Englund and the character of Freddy Krueger have had in the slasher subgenre and in the horror genre at large. I mean, his legacy was cemented years and years ago. And, I say this with all due respect to Robert Englund because I love Robert Englund. We all love him. But he's a character actor, at heart, and he would be the first to tell you this. His claim to fame is Freddy Krueger. That's a hell of a thing. Most actors, if you're lucky, will get one. If you're lucky, will get one big thing you're known for. And if you're uber lucky, like what the hell is going on, you get 2, like Harrison Ford with Indiana Jones and Han Solo. But that's not the norm, right? And nor is it to even get 1. And he got 1. But at his core, he's a character actor. Robert Englund is not a leading man. He's not like Harrison Ford, who was a leading man. Robert Englund's not a leading man. And he's getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on October 31st. Well, why is that? Well, it's not because of his appearance in Urban Legend or, Jack and something the Slayer or whatever that was. I mean, it's not for V. It's for Freddy Krueger. Now, you have to, the whole Hollywood star and how it's done and the voting and you have to pay for the whole thing. That's a whole other video. It's not like, as virtuous as some people might think. You have to pay for it and the installation, the upkeep and all that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, the point I'm making is that the reason he was offered it, for all intents and purposes, is because of Freddy Krueger. And because of Freddy Krueger's let's just put it this way. If Robert Englund was not Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund would not be getting a star on the Walk of Fame on Halloween. He wouldn't. For what? V? Urban Legend? No, of course not. And as much as the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce gives out stars like, cookies to a lot of actors, I'm like, what? Why? Because I'm of the old school era where it should be, reserved for true legends, But Robert Englund has absolutely cemented himself as a horror legend because of Freddy Krueger. And so I would argue that although that is possibly true what you're saying. I think the Freddy Krueger character and the influence that A Nightmare on Elm Street has had, and the influence that the character has had in the larger pop culture zeitgeist, it still puts him there. I think he's one of the character of Freddy is one of the legendary horror characters, because, you know, there's an argument to be made that Michael and Jason, although different in different stories, there's similarities. They're both non-speaking characters. They both wear a mask. You know, they both kill people with, you know, knives, machetes, all that kind of stuff. And so they both wear, you know, well, not, you know, but they both kind of have a similar outfit. Whereas Freddy's very different. He was very, very different to Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers. And so, which is one of the reasons why people really love him, right? But yeah, that would be my rebuttal to that, is that, when you get to Gen Z, sure, yeah, there could be there's probably a lot of people who don't know who Michael Myers is either, right? You know? And so, but I still think Freddy would be on there for sure over Leatherface. Because I think Leatherface, he just didn't pass the threshold. And that's not his fault. It's because there wasn't a movie for 10 years and the sequel was completely tonally different. And, you know, and then you got Leatherface 3 and then that weird one with Matthew McConaughey. Like, it never hit on the same level in the larger sphere, the larger cultural thing like Freddy and Jason and Michael did and Ghostface has. Let me scroll back here and see what some people are saying. Geeked Out Turtle says, Dave, you could also mention your argument that the scary movie parody shows how popular a Ghostface is. Yeah, I did sort of mention it, but you're right. To be spoofed is a sign of respect for a franchise and character. Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly it. Scream was so popular and the character is so popular. And I know he's not, you know, some people think it's cheating because he's not like one singular person. He's multiple people, but he's still a character. The character of Ghostface is still real, because what these characters, what Bob is, you know, what Billy and Stu did was they dressed up as a character. So the Ghostface is still a character. It's just a character that people dress up as, right? It's like if you dress up as a, you know, I don't know, like a witch, not necessarily the Wicked Witch of the West, but Ghostface has become like a character, like just a standard witch or a standard skeleton. You know, when people just dress up as a standard witch, they're not necessarily the Wicked Witch of the West. They're just a witch, right? You know what I mean? Or they're just a skeleton, or they're just a ghost. You know, Ghostface has become kind of like that, where, you know, because he's not an actual individual person, right? Like Freddy or Michael or Jason, he's a symbol, he's a character, and he's become a symbol of horror and evil and scary and creepy and Halloween. He's become one of the most iconic symbols of Halloween, the holiday, the season. And it's true. He's everywhere still. I mean, very rarely, if ever, do I ever see a Leatherface Now, again, don't false equivalence me here and say, well, there's a Leatherface something at my... Yeah, that's fine. I'm talking about generally speaking, you're going to see way more Scream and Ghostface stuff than you ever do Leatherface. And there's reasons for that. It's not because Ghostface is better than Leatherface necessarily. It's their pop cultural trajectory and path that their franchises and characters took. And Ghostface is just, you know, he's a rock star. He's a rock star. And you know, I mean, 30 years later, people are still dressing up as him every Halloween, all over the place, you know. The new Scary Movie that they're making, I'm sure you're probably going to see a Ghostface mask in there somewhere, probably. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they want to get away from it now. I don't know. But with the Scream films, the new ones out, I mean, probably, you know. But it's interesting. It's fascinating. See, Brandon says, I have a very hard time putting Ghostface up there precisely because it has been 15 different killers across 6 films. Also, I think there's a case to be made that Chucky is as recognizable. I think Chucky, yeah, but I don't think Chucky is as popular. And I don't think Chucky has embedded himself. I'm not saying he hasn't at all, but I think when we're looking at the character and the symbol of Ghostface and Chucky, I think Ghostface You know, Ghostface is also an easier character to dress up as, you know, to parody. You know, I think, you know, when we're talking about, you know, late night talk shows or music videos or, you know, scary movie, you know, spoofs, parodies, costume parties, you know, Chucky's a much more difficult character to dress up as, because he's, you know, so small, right? He's a doll. And not that people haven't, I know people have. But I think Ghostface, because of the kind of character that he is, I think it's easier to see him everywhere. And for me, I don't find it difficult because Ghostface is still a character. It's just a character people dress up as. And so when you look at it from that perspective, yeah, you're right. There's nobody actually. It would be like if Billy and Stu dressed up as just a standard witch, right? Or a standard skeleton. Like there's not, you know, and then they gave a name to that skeleton, you know, or something. I mean, it's just that, to me, it's still a character. It's just a character that people dress up as, and anybody could be Ghostface, right? It's kind of how I see it, but that's me. Let me see here. Have I missed any super chats, member chats? I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Let me go back over here. 95 people in here. Great to see. Oh, why is that not showing me? Oh, there we go. Got the member chat, got the super chat, got the super chat. Okay, good. I like it. Let me see here. I'm gonna go back over here. Robert Kitzmiller says, I don't think there's much love and interest in a Chucky doll, you know? I mean, in my opinion, it's not that interesting to begin with. Fun, sure, but you can't do a whole lot with it, I don't think. I think that's a good point you're making, Robert. And just to sort of piggyback off that, you know, I would say, again, kind of going back to my other point, which is he's not impossible, but he's more difficult to parody. I mean, you ask, what's his face now? God. Oh, God. His name escapes me. Why is his name escaping me? Anyway, there was a Chucky fan film that came out not too long ago. And, you know, it was good. The filmmaker did a really, really good job, but took him forever to get it made. One of the reasons was because there was pushback from the official rights holders, and they had to change the name to, you know, he had to take Child's Play out of it and Chucky out of it. But he had a hell of a time making that fan film because he wanted to do it right. And so he had like animatronic dolls and the whole, very, very, very difficult to do. It's probably why you don't see as many Child's Play fan films or parodies or things. I'm not saying they don't exist, but, you know, in comparison to Scream this or Scream that, or Chucky is not as easy to get a handle on to enjoy. He's not as easy to get a handle on to enjoy as a fan beyond the movie. T-shirts, sure. Sweatpants, hoodies, hats, statues, dolls, you know, NECA figures, sure, knock yourself out. But beyond that, he's to participate in the character themselves, to actually participate in the Chucky character, is much more difficult to do. And whereas Ghostface is, I mean, Jesus, you don't even need the whole Ghostface outfit. I mean, how many people just walk around with their hoodies on and a Ghostface mask? Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's so iconic. It's so iconic. So, but I respect those that maybe are like, nope, Ghostface isn't a singular character. So for me, that disqualifies him. But for me, he's not a singular character, but he is a character. He's a character like, you know, like you just dress up, like I said, like a witch or a dog or a cat, or, you know, you're not anybody specific in terms of like one constant, but you are dressing up. Well, maybe that's not, a dog or a cat's not right, but like that witch, you know, like a witch for Halloween. He's become a symbol of Halloween, and people will still just buy a Ghostface mask just because, you know, it is what it is. But I respect it. Let me see here. Let me scroll back. Yeah, that's true. Intrepid says, I'd say Freddy is on the lower end recognition these days. Yeah, well, that's just largely because there hasn't been a movie in years, and the last one from 2010 wasn't very good. So, but like I said earlier, and I have no statistical evidence to back this up, it's just my sort of observation being a part of the horror community in the ways that I am. I think Freddy would likely come in fourth, behind Ghostface, Leatherface, maybe even Leatherface, but behind Ghostface, Ghostface, Michael, and Jason. Freddy, like, there are a lot of fans out there, but they strike me as like I know Fred heads do exist. I mean, I posted a clip on my Facebook page. By the way, if you're not following me there, you should. The link is in the description. On my Many Things Dave McCrae Facebook page, I posted a clip a couple of weeks ago. You probably saw it if you follow me there, from me in Dylan's New Nightmare. And it was just a 30-second clip, and I posted it, and I'm just scrolling to look at it here. I can't see it there. I have to go. Hang on. Let me look at it on my phone. So I have over 5,000 people that follow me on that Facebook page. And, one second here. And when I make a post, if it's Halloween, it'll get a lot of likes, might get like 140 likes, 200 likes, might get, 10. I mean, it all depends, right? If my posts are horror related, they usually do very well. If I make a post that something isn't horror related, then, it doesn't do as well. Now, to be fair, this is really cool, but that clip that I shared on my Many Things Facebook page, me as Freddy Krueger, has 1.5 thousand thumbs up, hearts, all that kind of stuff, 114 comments, 359 shares, and 118,000 views on Facebook from 2 weeks ago, that clip, because it was shared 359 times. There's some people on there. Some of the comments are really funny. That's Freddy Krueger. I mean, it's not Robert Englund, but it's Freddy Krueger, the character, right? And so Freddy's still very popular, but I've always found that he tends to come in third when we talk about Michael and Jason. But he's still iconic. He's still iconic. And I think he belongs there. Josh McKenna, what's going on, Josh? Sends in $1.99. Says, there are no art fan films or spoofs. There are none? Oh, there will be. There will be eventually. Although, one of the things that's going to make it very hard to make a Terrifier fan film are the effects, because it is so extreme, right? And they push the envelope so much that it's going to be extremely difficult to, to make a fan film. Although I guarantee you there's somebody out there that's going to do it. They'll probably be shorter fan films, right? Probably not feature length. They might be like 5-minute, 10-minute shorts where it's just, very simple. I'd love to see one though. I'd love to see somebody put their makeup effects skills to the test and come up with all sorts of, and it's not, and even if it doesn't look great, we'll get the idea. Go to the store, buy some, sausages, some ground meat, mash that up in a bowl, have some guts coming. I mean, you can do it. You could do it. If you want to have some fun with it, you could. I think we're going to see some Terrifier fan films eventually. I think we will eventually. But to do it well, like, I don't think you're going to see, although I'm ready to be proven wrong, I don't think you're going to see a Terrifier fan film that really goes all in on the effects, but you never know. You never know. Oh, thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Putting my Facebook link in the chat. Yeah, if you guys do have Facebook and you're not following me on Facebook, please do. I post there as often as I can. Let me see here. I don't think that's because Freddy has never been scary since 3. Well, yeah, that could be that could be part of it. That actually could be absolutely part of it. 100%. 100%. All right. So listen, before we jump over to the other screen, this is where I lose everybody. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on your Mount Rushmore. Who are your Mount Rushmore of horror characters? How do you measure it? Maybe that's the best way to do it. Maybe you're just like, you know what, Dave? I respect how you've done it, but for me, it's just my favorites. It's just my favorites. That's my Mount Rushmore. And that's fair. I mean, that is one way of doing it, right? Your favorites is one way of doing it. Maybe it's your favorites. Maybe it's I don't know, which movies you like the best. Maybe there's many ways you could do it. Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on how you did it. Robert Kitzmiller sends in another a member chat, and says, although I do feel like Nightmare is the one franchise you can really explore with and take it out of, let me try that again. Although I do feel like the Nightmare is the one franchise you can really explore with and take it out of the slasher only sandbox. Yeah, I think you still need to, it has to be slasher. Slasher, I think, has to be part of it, but I do know what you're saying. I would love to see an Elm Street TV series. I really would. I think that's ripe for one, to be honest with you. I think it'd be a very cool TV series for sure. But I know what you're saying. All right, so I would just want to say, again, a huge thank you to each and every one of you out there that have supported and donated to the, it's me, Billy, to the House on Port Robinson Road Development Funds campaign. Now, before you all tune out and check out, let me just say there are 2 days left. Some of you are probably cheering. 2 days left before the campaign goes into in demand. There are 2 days left before the campaign goes into in demand. And what I would love to do is sell out the Bloodbath double feature perk. There are literally only 15 spots left. What is the Bloodbath double feature perk? That is watching Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween Kills with me on Halloween night, Friday, October 31st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be dressed up, eating candy. I want you guys to join me. We're going to watch these 2 movies. If you cannot make it, do not worry. If you're taking your kids trick-or-treating or if you got a party that night, do not worry. You can still pick up the perk and you can watch the replay afterwards. If you pick up the perk, you will have the link. So you will be able to watch it later that night, the next day, the next week, the next year, whenever. It's yours forever. And so, but I would love to sell this out. It's limited to 100 people. I'd love to sell this out before we hit in demand on Saturday. So we are down to literally just 2 days left. We have reached our base development goal, which is great. But as you know, I do have some stretch goals that I would love to start working towards. But there are literally only 15 spots left with the Bloodbath double feature. And if you look at it right here, there it is. Just 15 spots left right there. Only 15 spots left. So now that's $50 Canadian. Again, if you're in the US, if you're looking at my screen, those prices will be cheaper for you. That's only about $36 US. It's only about 25 pounds for you in the UK. I would really love to, we are so close, folks. We are so close. It would be great to sell this out before the campaign ends and goes into in demand on Saturday. I would really love to sell this out. Could we do it tonight? Is it possible we could do it? Are there 15 people in here right now that want to join me on Halloween night watching Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween Kills, munching on Halloween candy? I'm going to be dressed. I'm going to have like a mishmash of stuff. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Is it possible? There's also the mystery envelope. We've sold 17 out of 50 of those. That's a really cool perk where you get an envelope in the mail of all kinds of stuff related to the house on Port Robinson Road. But I don't tell you what it is. It's like one of those mystery boxes, right? Yes, I know that envelope is spelled incorrectly in the thumbnail, but spelled correctly in the actual description. I know. I don't know. I was smoking some sort of crack when I did the thumbnail. But there's still lots of stuff here, folks, that I would really love to sell before the end of the campaign on Saturday. If you do not see anything here that you do not want in the mail, you do not want to give me your address, you don't want anything here at all, you can also donate as well, which is just, you scroll to the end of the perks, you see make a contribution here, and you can donate as much or as little as you want. Again, these are for the development funds for the house on Port Robinson Road, and I would love to be able to sell out that blood. I mean, we are so close, ladies and gentlemen. We are so close. Only 15 left. This community, I believe there are 15 other people somewhere that want to watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween. I mean, well, I don't think anybody wants to watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but want to watch it with me. Now, you might be thinking, Dave, why did you choose that movie? I chose Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween Kills because I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to watch the same thing that we always watch. Last Halloween, I watched Halloween 1, 2, and 4. This Halloween, I want to do it a bit different, make it special for the campaign. And so I chose what are the two most bloodiest, violent Halloween movies in the franchise. And the internet told me it was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Halloween Kills are the two most bloodiest, violent films in the franchise. So that is why I chose those two movies. Brandon Collins, what's going on? Brandon Collins says, I am so happy you hit that goal and got this into In Demand. I agree. People believe in you. IMB 1 and 2 show the talent, but your passion will yield success. Thank you, Brandon, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot. Brandon, of course, one of our great moderators here, one of our great supporters here on the channel. Really appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's amazing. You guys came through, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? No, a week ago, where we did that show, and I said that an anonymous donor would double any donations we raised that night, and the anonymous donor said, I see how much you've raised. Give me 24 hours and I will add that to the campaign. And they did. Literally 24 hours later, they sent me an email and they said, hey, Dave, just want to let you know it's done. And I looked on the campaign and it was done. We crossed our threshold over 20,000 Canadian, about 14,500 US, about 10,000 pounds. And we crossed it and we will be going into In Demand as of basically this time on Saturday or early morning or something like that. But I would really love to, now these perks will still be available afterwards, but I would really love to sell as much as we can before In Demand kicks in, because then that means that first will include right into my business account, and then I can start the process of now, figuring out where I want to allocate that in terms of the development. I got a line producer I want to bring on. I've got a legal team I want to bring on. I've got, also, concept art, a concept artist I want to bring on. There's people I want to sort of reach out to and talk to, and things like that. So, and there's stretch goals that we have, right? You know me, I'm honest here. I'm transparent with you, about how this all works and what this is all about. You're curious, what is a development funds campaign? I don't understand. Why are you doing this? So this isn't to raise money to make the movie. This isn't like, why don't I see Blu-rays? Why don't I see producer perks? I encourage you to go to the campaign. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and read the actual campaign. Don't just look at the perks, but actually read the campaign. It is all there, what I'm trying to do. The short answer is no for 14,500 US dollars. This is, again, I've only done a preliminary estimate, but I believe that this is a $3 to $5 million movie. But that is one of the reasons why I want to bring on a line producer. That is one of the line producer's job, is to go through the script and figure all that out. How much is this really going to cost? Maybe it's going to be slightly more than what I thought it was going to be. Maybe it's going to be slightly less than what I thought it was going to be. And that's always good news. And of course, but that's their job, to actually go through it, figure out how much is this really going to cost, so we know how much we're actually seeking in terms of whether we have meetings with production companies or studios or investors or, producers, whatever the case is. We know how much that this is going to cost. And of course, a schedule. How long is this going to, based on this, that, and the other, and what we've done here and all this and this and this and this and this. What are we looking at in terms of a schedule? Is it a 6-week shoot? Is it an 8-week shoot? Is it a 5-week shoot? Those are good things to know as well, because that also helps to determine cost, right? And so these are all the things that are happening in the development stage. The script is done for the house on Port Robinson Road. Now, will it be tweaked here or there? I'm going to tweak that. I'm just going to tweak that. I'm going to just kind of tweak that. Sure, of course. But the script, for all intents and purposes, the story, the characters, where I'm going, what's happening, there. But the script is done. The lookbook is done. I'm very happy with both. They're have received terrific feedback from people, which is great. But of course, we are still in that development stage. And when you are an indie filmmaker and you are not backed by a studio. Maybe that's going to happen down the road, which would be amazing. Who knows? But at this very moment in time, it is not. And I need to be able to get my package, not that package, get your mind out of the gutter, folks, my pitch package into the best possible sort of position that gives me the best probability of success of attracting the right eyeballs and all that kind of stuff. So and I know there's a lot of explaining that has to happen when you talk about this kind of thing, but it is incredibly important. And I'm relying on the horror community, of course, to step up and get involved. And it's a great way to get involved. I mean, you're getting in on the floor, showing that we've reached our goals, even the goals that we reached with Billy 1 and Billy 2. That looks okay. Let me see if okay. I think I'm back. Am I back? Let me know if I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. There I am. I think I'm back. There I am. Let me know if I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we're down to 18 people watching, maybe somebody will come back in. I have no idea. Maybe somebody will come back in. I'm back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we're slowly going up. 25 people. Maybe we'll get back. We had like 98 people in here. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but I did see though that the campaign has got some more. So maybe people are picking up that bloodbath perk. That's awesome, you guys. Amazing. We've hit 105%. I'd love to hit 110% by the end of the campaign before it goes into in demand, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, if we sold out all of the bloodbath double features, we'd almost be there, but nonetheless, I don't know if that's going to happen tonight, considering there was a major faux pas or a major technical glitch. I don't know what happened there. It was kind of weird. But anyway, let me bring this up a little bit again. There we go. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Hang on a sec here. Let me do this and do this. Why are you not? Hang on a sec. Okay. And then bring you over here like that. Okay. I'll just do that. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. And I was rambling and going on and thinking I was on fire and nobody could probably hear me. Nonetheless, what I was saying that if you're curious on what a development campaign is all about and all that kind of stuff and what this is, it is all there on the campaign to read and see what's going on. Let me just give a quick shout out to those who did donate tonight. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Again, there are 2 days left in the campaign before we hit in demand, and I still would love to sell out those bloodbath double. I want all 100 people in there, or at least all 100 people to get a chance to see it. I think that would be awesome. But let me see here who that was. We got to give shout outs to Kenneth Holmes. Oh, Kenneth Holmes picks up the secret mystery envelope. I'm loving it, Kenneth. I'm loving it. Troy Grubb Jr. picks up the bloodbath double feature. Awesome. Sean Sheridan picks up the social media thank you. Thank you. Joey Bean, a social media thank you. Thank you. And Adam Allen, a social media thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, like I said, that means we're down to 14 bloodbath double features. 14 bloodbath double features. It would be nice to get those, or maybe the mystery perk, or one of the posters. Do you want a 3-pack? You want all 3 concept posters signed by moi right there. Again, remember, you're seeing Canadian shekels. We call them dollars here, by the way. We don't call them shekels. That's just a term you call any kind of money. Anyways, 3-pack concept, a 3-pack concept poster signed by me. You can get all 3. If you purchase this, you spend 20% less than you would if you picked up all 3 individually. Just saying. The mystery novelty sign. There's still the November files. Oh my God, I want to sell these out. Not out, but I can't sell them out because there's not a limited quantity, but I still want to get these. I mean, these are really cool, and there's still the legacy one too. That legacy one it's the big tier, but you get everything on the campaign, every single thing on the campaign you get, as well as a link to a private live stream with me and some of my middle-aged college friends, some of whom I haven't seen in 25 years, talking about the real story behind the movie, the real story that inspired the movie and the house on Port Robinson Road. That's going to be awesome. So if you're into ghosts and paranormal and all that kind of stuff, and you want to get in on this, on the development funds in a big way, you could pick up that big tier, the legacy tier, with the November Files, and you get everything in the November Files Platinum, the November Files Plus, the November Files, as well as all the rest. You get all of this as well, including the Bloodbath double feature and everything else. And so it's the equivalent of like the executive producer tier that was on the Billy campaign. So yeah. For sure. I would love to, I'd love to, at least, again, as I'm saying, I'm not expecting to sell any of the other perks out necessarily, but I would love to sell the Bloodbath double feature. There's 14 left, just 14 left. I know my internet crapped out on me, but there's still 53 of you in here. Are there 14 of you out of those 53 that maybe would like to, get in on the Bloodbath double feature on Halloween night, or anything else? Just let me know. I would love to know. Fauci Cinema, what's going on? Fauci, what's going on, Dave? I'm doing all right. Hope you are as well. Josh Stevens says it is still glitchy for me. And is it really? I would, leave and then come back in, and maybe that might take care of it. Cause it seems that now, like, all of, the stream health and everything seems to be okay. And I think that was the issue from before. So, yeah. But the mystery envelope is really cool because, like I said, it's like one of those mystery boxes, That's why I put the question mark there. But it's an envelope. So whatever you get in there will be related to the house on Port Robinson Road, and it's pretty cool. There's 50 of those. We've sold 18 of them. I wasn't really expecting to sell those out, but we've sold 18 of them, which is great, which is really cool. And then we've sold 3 of the poster pack. There's the novelty street sign, of course, the Port Robinson Road novelty street sign. So yeah, I think it should be cool. So again, you guys are awesome. I will, all of you that have donated to the campaign, you will get your official social media shout outs once the campaign ends this Saturday and moves into In Demand. And then I will take everybody's name who donated to the campaign and give you shout outs across social media. So I'm looking forward to doing that because there's 243 of you, but some of you have donated a couple of times. So out of those 243, maybe there's like 200 individual backers, maybe, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, really, really, really cool. And just 2 days left. Just 2 days left, ladies and gentlemen. Just 2 days left. Brandon Collins says, Dave, how about a Friday the 13th marathon stretch goal for February the 13th? People love those watch-alongs. No, it's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. I have some ideas sort of rolling around in my brain, in my noggin, for what I might want to do to help move towards those stretch goals. Because the stretch goals are, so we've reached our base goal, right? The stretch goals are, they're here. They are, there they are. We've reached our base goal. The stretch goals are, you can see them there. 30,000 Canadian or 22,000 US, or 60,000 Canadian, 44,000 US. Those are the two stretch goals. And, but we did hit our base goal, which is amazing. So now we are working towards that. Like I said, I was hoping to get to 110% before the end of the campaign on Saturday, because the campaign does end. Like technically it does end, and then it moves into a different phase, which is called In Demand. And which means that you can still donate and you can still pick up perks, but it's a bit of a different phase, and things will look a bit different. But nonetheless, it's good that we've done that because that means we continue to raise money. So it's cool. Josh says, no, it's fine now. I just refreshed like Chester said, 100% perfect. Awesome. That's good to know. So yeah, I mean, really that's all I had to say, I think, for today's episode. Was I just wanted to come on and talk about Mount Rushmore of horror and let you guys know there's only 2 days left in the campaign, and that I really would, out of all the stuff I'd love to sell out, there's only a couple on there that are limited. It definitely is that Bloodbath double feature, especially now there's only 14 left. There's literally 14 left, $36 US. And remember, like I said, I know it's Halloween night and people are busy and you've got kids and you're going trick-or-treating and you're taking them trick-or-treating, or maybe you're going trick-or-treating yourself because you're some weird adult like that. Maybe you got a Halloween party, whatever the case is, but you still want to support, you can, because you will get emailed the link to the show because you picked it up. So you'll get an email to the link. And once the live show is done, although it's private, once the live show is done, you'll still have access to it because you have the link. So you can watch it later that night or whatever the case is. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're serious about supporting the campaign and you're actually serious, you're not just, virtue signaling, you are actually serious about supporting the campaign via the Bloodbath double feature, then don't let you being busy Halloween night stop you. You can pick it up and you can have the perk and you'll be able to watch. I know it won't be live, but you're still going to get in on the shenanigans and everything. It's going to be a crazy show. So it's still going to be a lot of fun. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Thank you, Josh, and says, not sure if you answered the super chat and member chat above during the glitch. Oh, thank you, Josh. Let me go back and see what those were. You're right. I didn't. You are absolutely right. Sean Sheridan, been a member for 25 months. Amazing. Sean says, I picked up the social media shout out perk. Thank you, Sean. You will get a shout out. Once the campaign ends. Josh McKenna, thank you, Josh, says the Joey Bean donation on the campaign was me. Oh, it was you. Amazing. That was the name of my cat who sadly had to be put to sleep yesterday. Oh no, dude, yesterday. I'm really, really sorry. I think you had an account that was your friend as well not too long ago. I like how you're sort of creating accounts in their honor. I think that's really, really cool. He is cheering house on Port Robinson Road up in cat heaven. Yes, he is. He absolutely is. And Veda was there behind me on the couch, but I think whenever I start into my huge shenanigans, she kind of is like, okay, I'm out. Dave's yelling and screaming, and I think I'm out. I think I'm too loud for her. Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that. And I'm very sorry you had to put down your cat. It sucks, man. I mean, they become a part of your family. Veda's 11. She'll be 12 in December. And I'm just like, fuck, man. I mean, I hope she's got a good, another 5 years maybe. I'm hoping she can make it to 17 or 18. But it sucks. It sucks that, our furry animals become such a part of our lives and such a part of our, their family, and dogs and cats and you got tortoises that live to 105 and parrots that live to 90, but cats and dogs are, once you get to 12, 13, 14, I mean, that's it, man. It sucks. It really sucks. I am soaking up all the time I can have with her. She's my little buddy and she's been with me. Well, I mean, she's been with me since I was 35 and I'm 46 now, and if she can live another 5 or 6 years, hopefully I'll be in my 50s. And I'll have adopted her when I was 35, and that's a long time, man. It's hard. Anyways, I don't want to think about it. It's just awful. My condolences, Josh. Okay, let me scroll back down here. Let me see. There was somebody else that picked up something. Let me just see here. We're at 244. Somebody else did pick up something. Let me just give them a little shout out. These are not your social media, like your, shout outs. I will give you a proper social media shout out. We got Eric Ray just donated $5. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that, man. Hey, every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Don't forget, if you want to help the campaign out and you want to get this thing as close to 110% as we possibly can, which is 22,000, right? You looking at your screen right now, you're seeing it in Canadian dollars because I'm in Canada. So that's what you're seeing. 110% would be 22,000. It's not as crazy as you might think. You might look at that and go, well, geez, Dave, that's nearly $1,000. Sure. But there's 14 Bloodbath double features left, right? There's 14 Bloodbath double features left. So what would that be? So if we sold all of them out, that would be an extra $700. Well, you tack on $700 plus $21,140, and now we're sitting at $21,840. We're sitting at now 109%. We're basically there. If we, like, hypothetically tonight, there's 60 people still in the chat room. If we, or that are still watching, there's only 14 Bloodbath double features. Just that's it. 14 that I need to sell out to get on the doorstep of 110%. That's it. And we've got 2 days, because again, you can always pick it up after, yes, of course. But I would love to be able to sell them out right at the stroke of when that campaign ends and get as close to 110% as we can, because it also looks great for Indiegogo's main page and their algorithms. And I'm not just saying that. That's not bullshit. That's not a fancy thing. I sincerely mean that. When our campaign hit in demand, when it hit 20,000, we were in the top 10 on Indiegogo's main page. Now, we're not there anymore because it's been a week, but when it hit in demand, we were in the top 10 on Indiegogo's page. And I started getting emails from people, from all sorts of people that I hadn't heard of, that want to support the campaign, all that kind of stuff, in terms of like being a part of the movie and that kind of stuff, because there are people that look at it, right? So the better we do, the more popular we are, the Indiegogo algorithms bump us up in their popularity chain. And so that looks good to be high on their list as well. I'm just saying that's not the only reason. I'm not saying it's the only reason. I'm saying that's a big reason that we continue to do well, because it shows that this campaign is popular. It's very similar to how YouTube works, right? That if it gets a lot of views, if it gets a lot of engagement, if it gets a lot of thumbs up, well, then YouTube looks at that and goes, well, this must be popular. We're going to push this out. Well, if the campaign does well and continues to do well and doesn't just hit 100%, hits 105%, 110%, 115%, like if it continues to do well, Indiegogo goes, well, geez, this is a really popular campaign. People must really be into this. And it continues to look well to potential investors, whether that's production companies, studio, whatever. It continues to show that there's people are interested in this. People want to see this. Like, what is this thing here? The house on, what is that? Tell me about, like, what is going on? Right. And so, again, it's all about continuing to create that momentum, that footprint, and that fan base, which is great. So that's what I mean. Like, it's not as 14 people coming in at the Bloodbath double feature really isn't a lot. And as I've said many times, these campaigns do really well, not necessarily with somebody coming in big, although that's always very thankful. It's one in the trenches. It's a lot of people coming in low. Josh Stevens says, Dave, did you see Conjuring Last Rites? I have not. I won't see it until it comes to streaming. I'm probably not going to go to the theater. I enjoyed it. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you did. But then saw the Wham video about how terrible the Warrens are in real life. Yuck. I'll never watch the Conjuring series again. Yeah, well, yeah, the Warrens, those things were never, I saw Mike's video as well, and the things he was talking about are true in the sense that they are allegations. They were never proven. They were, he said, she said, our word against theirs. There was never any sort of, they were never proven, but that did come out. The Warrens have denied it. The Warrens have not denied that this person exists, but have denied that there was any sort of sexual activity or all that kind. Like, they denied all that. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? But yeah, there are a lot of stuff surrounding the Warrens, not just with the kinds of people they were, but the fact that they were fraudsters. I mean, they weren't the people that they are depicted in the movies, but thankfully, that doesn't deter me, because I was never under the impression that half the shit they talk about actually happened anyway. And so I just look at that. I'm watching. I can separate Varmiga and Wilson from Ed and Lorraine Warren in real life. Even though it's based on their characters, I can separate it. Like, I still think The Conjuring, the first one, is one of the best studio mainstream released horror movies of the last 25 years. It's one of my favorites of all time, the first one. And so I like the second one. I do. Not as much as the first, but I like it. So for me, I can sort of separate it, but I respect it if you can't. If you can't do that and it's something that you can't do, I do respect that. I do respect that. But it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people. A lot of people. All right. Have I got all the super chats? Have I got all the member chats? I don't know if I have. Have I? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I have. I'm not really sure. All right, folks. Well, listen, that's going to do it for me on this episode of MCRAE Live. I want to thank you for all for tuning in. Not too many people here in the chat right now. I think that glitch sort of knocked people away, which is totally understandable, but I appreciate you all being here. If you're watching live, or if you're watching after the fact, once the show ends here today, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today, but more specifically, the main topic of the show, which of course is the Mount Rushmore of horror. Who are your Mount Rushmore of characters, and how do you quantify it? How do you measure it? How do you define it? Because I think those things are incredibly fascinating. Maybe it is just who your favorite is, but if we really want to get to the bottom of who the GOAT is and be as objective as we possibly can, even though this is still really, then I think looking at it in the ways that I did here today, at least is a good way to do it. Not the only way to do it, but a good way to do it. But maybe you have another way to do it. Maybe you have a completely different way of your measuring stick. Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts when you can. And don't forget, folks, like I said, the link to the Indiegogo campaign for the development funds for the house on Port Robinson Road is currently pinned to the top of the chat right now, but that chat's about to go away. It is also in the description. Every little bit helps, folks. Every little bit helps. It's an important project to me and a project I'm very excited about, and these development funds are going to a great cause. Have a great rest of your Thursday night, folks. Have a great night. Stay safe out there. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I never say that, but if you're not, please do. Hit that heart button, thumbs up, whatever you guys do. Do that. And if you're not following me on social media, all my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. Good night, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.